There's two units within the Empire roster that I want to talk about today. And it's kind of out of the ordinary for me to kind of go backwards. I usually kind of talk about things that are coming up or stuff like that. But there are two people or things or heroes that we use a lot and are kind of some sort of like weird meme portion of the meta. And that is Balthasar Gelt and the Witch Hunter. So in today's video, we're going to do the same kind of treatment that we have done for any of the speculative lords that are in the future. Like, hey, you know, we'll read this lore blurb, then talk a little bit about what we see in what we might see in the game as far as their special rules. In this video, I'll talk about the lore blurb, and then I'll just tell you what like the tabletop equivalent of their abilities are like. Because in Total War Warhammer, we already know that Balthasar Gelt's in the game. We already know that Witch Hunters are in the game. So hopefully this will kind of give you guys an idea of what these characters were like in the lore and how much Balthasar Gelt sucked even in tabletop. So we'll start off here with the Gelty himself, Balthasar Gelt, the Supreme Patriarch. Balthasar Gelt came to Altdorf from the city of Marienburg, having bought passage on a merchant ship with gold that he had transmuted from lead ingots. He left the seaport for the College of Magic before the effect wore off, and now rumors abound that the swindled sea captain has placed a rich bounty on Balthasar's head, though few would dare attempt to collect it. The transmutation of common artifacts into precious metal has always fascinated Balthasar. Driven by his obsession, he spent many years combining his knowledge of alchemy, learnt in far-off lands, with the magical lore of metal. Balthasar's fierce intelligence lent him a greater understanding of this branch of magic than any of his fellow students or tutors, and he rose quickly through the ranks of the Gold Order. Within a mere decade, Balthasar had become the Patriarch of the Golden College, the youngest wizard to ever hold the title. Balthasar's research into new formulations of black powder even made him popular with the Imperial Engineers School, an organization that often dismisses magic as superstitious nonsense. However, during these studies, a freak explosion almost ended Balthasar's quest for knowledge forever. Somehow he survived, and from that day on, he has only ever been seen swathed in shimmering metallic robes and wearing a golden face mask. Some say that beneath his mask, his skin has turned to pure gold, while others whisper that he is horribly disfigured, though the truth of the matter is known only to Balthasar. One thing is certain, the accident only furthered his will to succeed, and this determination increased his powers to new heights. After defeating Thyrus Gorman of the Bright Order in a ritual magical duel, Balthasar became Supreme Patriarch of the College of Magic, replacing the long-standing prominence of fire with that of metal. Since that day, the new Supreme Patriarch has appeared on many battlefields, heartening the Emperor's armies as he soars overhead on his Pegasus. With a single gesture, Balthasar Gelt can transform his enemies into lifeless golden statues, or turn their bones into molten iron. With such power at his command, Balthasar has secured victory for the Empire on numerous occasions. So, not the worst, not certainly the most epic of lore when it comes to the mighty Geltster here, but it is kind of worth noting that the end times for Balthasar is really kind of a weird time. In the end times, and we'll talk about a little bit about this. We'll talk more about this in the end times video that we do on the Empire. But in the end times, Balthasar Gelt creates the Auric Bastion, which is basically this grand bastion that pretty much defends the northern Chaos Wastes against the remaining, or the Norsca in general, I guess you could say, from the rest of the Empire. And it's basically this impenetrable line, nothing can get through it, and to power up this gigantic wall, the Auric Bastion, there has to be these wizards placed every so often on these basically, just think of them as pentagrams. It's the easiest way to describe it without going into too much detail. And if someone were to knock them off of them, that portion of the Auric Bastion would fall. You can imagine that's exactly what happens. So that happens, and it just becomes this clusterfuck. You have this huge invasion that happens through the Auric Bastion, and then it's revealed that Balthasar Gelt, who had been given a scroll of the lore of undeath, basically, by Neferata, is discovered as kind of being an agent of Nagash. But it's really not so much that he was an agent of Nagash, it's that Balthasar was trying to do everything he could to help out the Empire, and the Auric Bastion is actually because of this scroll. And he does like a certain couple other things with Sylvania itself. So The end times is a really weird and sordid time for the mighty Geltster. He becomes the incarnate of metal. Shortly after that, obviously, Thorgrim becomes the incarnate of metal. And I was actually talking about this with Lore Master of Sotek. There are these buffet of murders and backstabbings in the end times. And in the end times, Balthasar Gelt is killed by Manfred. And then Manfred is killed by Tyrion. So it's just the same thing we saw with Queek Headtaker, right? Queek Headtaker kills Belagar. Then Thorgrim kills Queek Headtaker. And then Deathmaster Snickich kills Thorgrim. So it's just like, oh okay. It's like someone took crayon, a red crayon, and just went name over that name, or a line over that name, strike through on that name, strike through on that name, and we'll all tie it together with one just grand like et tu brute style backstabbing. And the lore of metal is supposed to make you impervious to physical damage, impervious to any kind of damage for the most part, like when it comes to that kind of stuff. Minus, of course, like just being blasted in the face, like the lore of death. But both of the incarnates of metal, Thorgrim and Balthasar, both get backstabbed. So there's that loophole. And you find a lot of that in the end times, and that's why we don't go into the end times too much. I try to kind of just buzz the tower, just kind of dip on the surface and come back up, because once you start going into the plot holes and all the ironies, your head starts to spin and go, why do they even do this? So that is kind of the grand tale of Balthasar Gelt and the mighty Leonardo DiCaprio, Man in the Iron Mask, in which he is the Supreme Patriarch. And it's kind of funny because Balthasar Gelt is the Supreme Patriarch, and obviously in the lore, he loses that Supreme Patriarch title because you're using the lore of undeath. Well, fuck you. We don't want you as part of the College of Magic anymore. They boot him from the College of Magic. He's no longer the Supreme Patriarch. There's all this action. And then Gregor Martok becomes the new Supreme Patriarch, and has a whole big portion of trying to fight off the final end times. And we kind of went into him a little bit about during the Vaulton video, and how he's like summoning up this mighty squall from Wulfric, the god Wulfric. So it's like the Supreme Patriarch is kind of tossing this mantle, like it's tossed onto him, and he actually does some good out of it that Balthasar Gelt clearly wasn't able to do. But that's good old Balti here. In the tabletop, he uses a lore of metal, just like he does in Total War Warhammer. He does have his Imperial Pegasus. It's not named, because it is in Total War Warhammer, but I think it's actually named in a publication. And I have not read the publication, because why the hell would I want to read a book about Balthasar Gelt? I don't hate him that much, but it's just so easy to hate him. He's an easy object for my hate, because a lot of stuff in the Empire roster, especially their special characters, like, is really cool. We have never gone into Luthor Huss. We've never talked about Marcus Wolfhart. We've never talked about Marius Leitdorf or Ludwig Schwarzhelm. God, I butchered the hell out of that. Or Kurt Helborg. There's a lot of really cool Empire special characters, and Balthasar Gelt just ain't one of them. He's cool in his own right, I guess you could say, but he's got his Amulet of Sea Gold, which is again in the game. This ancient elven heirloom was unearthed by Balthasar Gelt in distant Estalia. It glows with protective energies that become increasingly more powerful in the presence of evil sorcery. So basically it gives him resistance to increasing levels of wizards on the battlefield. So in the way that tabletop works with that is, okay, I'm Balthasar Gelt, you have one other wizard, I get one magic resist. Oh, you have two wizards, it increases by a value of 1 per wizard you've got on there. Once it gets to 3, though, it gives you a static 3. So very simple, very easy. It does give him magic resist in the game, so we get those bonuses. A simple translation to Total War Warhammer. There wasn't any kind of big steps on that one. I think with the Witch Hunter, what we'll go into on that is that they did a really good job of interpreting the special rules that they had in a really good, flavorful way for Total War Warhammer. So we'll get into those in a bit here. But the Cloak of Molten Metal here, this mystic robe creates a shimmering series of images that perfectly match Balthasar's appearance. These images are forever rotating in a dazzling whirlwind of iridescent colors, masking the Patriarch's true battlefield position even to the most eagle-eyed marksman. This gives him a ward slave against shooting attacks, which we see that as well already kind of conferred to him. And then his last is his Staff of Volans. This staff belongs to Volans, the first supreme primarch or patriarch of the Colleges of Magic, who was taught by Teclis of Ulthuan during the Great War against Chaos, and it has been the symbol of office of the Supreme Patriarch ever since. It allows the Patriarch to bend the winds of magic more easily to his will. What we see this as in Total War Warhammer is essentially a winds of magic battery, right? If you've seen the video that we released where Turin uses Balthasar Gelt, he basically pops the Staff of Volans, and he's almost immediately up to 30 winds of magic. I think it's something like 1 winds of magic every 5 or 9 seconds. It's a very, very, very quick return on winds of magic, so it allows him to get a 30 winds of magic, so he can use like Final Transmutation. In the tabletop, it increases his ability to cast spells. So kind of the same. That's what I've always really liked about Creative Assembly's ability to take rules that are already in the tabletop and give them, again, a very flavorful way of coming across. And I really like that. And that's what I've enjoyed the most about seeing some rules that are like, okay, how the hell are they going to bring this into Total War? So they've done a good job there. But let's go into the mighty Witch Hunter here, or the Witch Hunters for that matter. These were, of course, a hero class in the Empire roster, and they were really cool. I really enjoyed them. You didn't see them a ton on the battlefield because they don't have the kind of staying power that they do. Well, I guess the complete killing power that they do in Total War Warhammer. But I still want to go into them because they're really starting to appear a lot more in the meta, and they're really fun, you know. Using accusation and all the kind of amazing stuff that the Witch Hunters do, like just the double Witch Hunter with Gelt combo right now is so hilarious, like just burns through lords. So let's go into the Witch Hunters here. The worship of chaos and practice of wizardry beyond the strictures of the College of Magic are crimes in the Empire, punishable by death. Those that dare employ fell sorcery or consort with the agents of the dark gods must answer to the Witch Hunters. These sinister men, members of a secret order, lead solitary existences. They hunt mostly by intuition, keeping an ear open to strange rumors and peasants' tales, whilst their eyes seek the distinctive trails of corruption and signs of magic gone awry. When witch hunters find the spoor of evil, they are utterly relentless in tracking it to its source, hounding their quarry unto death. Witch hunters devote their lives to rooting out evil wherever it may be found. Whether in the shadows of some dank and lonesome hamlet or in the raging melee of a battlefield. Judge, jury, and executioner combined, a witch hunter will use any means necessary to burn out heresy from the heart of the Empire. Not a twinge of doubt softens the knife-sharp edges of a witch hunter's soul. His bleak existence allows no room for foibles such as compassion or mercy. Indeed, they are often feared even by the innocent, as it is said that a witch hunter would sooner raze an entire village to the ground than see a single worshipper of chaos go free. And yet, for all the heartlessness and cruelty of this dark brotherhood, the Empire needs men of this caliber, men who will put aside their own humanity in order to punish and destroy those who embrace dark sorcery or the temptations of chaos. Such is a witch hunter's duty, and it is a burden lesser men would find impossible to bear. Witch hunters are deeply distrustful of their fellow man, and no one is above suspicion, not even their own kind. Witch hunters are trained to look for the slightest hint of mutation and the merest suggestion of sorcerer's powers. And those in whom corruption is discovered will find themselves answering to the soot-stained muzzle of a witch hunter's pistol. Despite their unsettling reputation, witch hunters are welcomed with open arms in times of war. When battle is raging and the sorceries of vile wizards burn the skies above, a witch hunter's assortment of arcane sigils, holy talismans, and protective charms can ward away evil magic, often proving the only thing that stands between an Empire soldier and a most unnatural death. The tools of the witch hunter's profession include sharpened stakes, prayer-inscribed rapiers, and baroque pistols loaded with thrice-blessed silver bullets. Some say that the witch hunter's bullet is the final judgment of the damned. One who is tainted by dark magic will burst into white-hot flame as it is touched, whereas those who fail to burn are at least proven innocent by their death. As the witch hunters are fond of pointing out, to die cleanly is far better fate than to live under the sway of evil. So a little bit of a touch of the Inquisitors of the Warhammer 40,000 universe in the Inquisition there. All sorts of greatness coming from them little badasses. But they have an innate magic resistance. And the way accusation kind of works in this tabletop is that if you choose a model, you at the very start of the game, you say, hey, I want that model. That's the model I'm going for. That's the book describes it as this is the witch hunter's primary quarry. So then they can reroll to hit rolls against them. They have killing blow against them, and basically they can snipe them. So even if they're within a unit, they can shoot them. If they get up close and personal with them, they can kill them outright with a specific wound. If they actually hit them, but they have a chance to actually increase their hit chance. So accusation is pretty powerful on the tabletop, but it's not the kind of ranged extreme dot or damage over time that it is in Total War Warhammer. So it made a really cool change because sniping isn't a thing in this game. To hit rolls aren't a thing in this game. Granting it killing blow would have been very lackluster compared to how it really pans out in the tabletop. It is a way to completely destroy a model. It is a way to really just hunt down another enemy hero, or enemy lord or hero. So it's a really, really cool ability here. But they also have another one called Grim Resolve, which essentially just kind of makes it so that they don't have to worry about any kind of fear or terror causing tests. So they have kind of an automatic pass on that, so they don't have to deal with that as much as well. And any unit they're in has the same ability, so it's a kind of a widespread immunity to psychological effects. Then also they've got Tools of Judgment. So this is when attacking wizards or models with the undead, Nehekaran undead, or demonic special rules in close combat, a witch hunter rerolls failed rolls to wound. And I wish that was a persistent thing here, like almost like the lore of light and how exorcism kind of works. I wish that the Tools of Judgment kind of made its way to the witch hunter. I think that'd be a really cool kind of thematic way to make the witch hunter the antithesis of an undead, of a Nehekaran undead, of a demon. I think that'd be a really, especially with Total War Warhammer 3 coming out and adding demons, I think that'd be a really kind of a cool taste here. But again, witch hunters were not used a ton in tabletop. I saw them more as some sort of conversion or bash up with their models. Their models are really, really cool, and we'll kind of show some of them here in this video. But that kind of concludes everything for here today, guys. I wanted to really just give you guys some nuggets of knowledge here on the witch hunters and on Balthasar Gelt. A lot of people have been asking me about them, like, hey, where does Gelt's mask come from? How important were the witch hunters? The Order of the Silver Hammer, which is what the witch hunters, that's their brotherhood, their order that they all hail from, is pretty important to the lore as far as like kind of being the underlying root. The Inquisition, the Order of the Silver Hammer, is what started the whole Skaven. They don't exist. That's because of them, because they realized how big the Skaven threat actually was, and they curbed that back by saying, we can't tell the populace how grand of a threat it is, because we already know how paranoid and how skittish the Skaven are. And if they believe that we're trying to attack them, they'll rise up against us and kill us all, because there's so many of them and they're everywhere. So that's why the Inquisition instilled that the Skaven, that they're not real. This is totally a farce. So you're talking about a giant dog. So that concludes everything for here today, guys. I've got plenty more coming out here. Turn is going to be going away to Poland here, so we'll be doing some of our head-to-head campaign kind of blitz together. So we'll hopefully have those out for you here pretty soon. I'm still doing my video on Vulcan. I've been trying to just get it out quicker, but it's locked up in time. But I will get it out, I do promise. But thanks for watching here today, guys. Have a good one, and take care.